the Samyak is translated into Tibetan as yang tak. And it is often and very popularly and commonly interpreted as right or perfect. And it's not the English language's fault, it was just a way to make nice, It's an emotional thing, probably. That this is not right, this is not right, this is wrong, that is wrong. And so therefore we are tired, and so therefore we feel like, I wish there was something perfect, pristine, And so therefore, I think probably that's how it came down to the idea right. The right way of living, the right way of samadhi, and so on, the whole Eight Noble Path. But Samyak yang takpa means fully discovered, thought through and through, as another expression in English. Been there, done that, And so therefore, the so-called humankind, rather than saying mankind, that's another emotional aspect. And so therefore humankind, the thinking world, the thinking universe, Manush, or means mind, or those that are capable of having equipoise, not to say having, but somehow. Those who have the potential to think through, Thinking is not bad, symbolism is not bad. As long as we believe, as long as we not believe is probably not the right way to put it, but as long as we cling, probably that's a better way, cling to ourself, grasp to ourself, as if we are falling forever, not just then there is a bottom, but in a way that just constantly falling. And that experience is unbelievable, that at some point, if you have no guidance, experience, it's possible that we will feel like, I want a floor, to say, okay, it doesn't matter, I smashed into pieces, And so therefore, clinging is like, by then we are so desperate that forget living, I want a finale, yes. And so therefore, that fear is there, yes. So, therefore, Samyak, sorry, I forgot a little bit of what I was planning to say. But that's why I'm going back to the original route. So excuse me for that. And so Samyak means something along the line of coherent, as I was saying, complete, as I was saying. Meaning that while you're falling, let's have another approach. I fell yesterday, I'm falling today, According to this, I may fall tomorrow, continue to fall. And so clinging is all that I have done, and led me nowhere else, actually, if I really think through. Yes? And so therefore, what about if I think something new, something fresh, that the society of agreement never thought of, Because the agreement, the society of agreement, they, not that they're evil also, they had to think of the young, the old, the sick, the illiterate, and so they had to kind of embrace all of them and find a common logic also. And so because of that, then they said, let's put a stop to it, let's say that there is a flaw. Or let's say that it's in fact, there is a flaw, but it's not as hard as we think. In fact, it may be a swimming pool. And so therefore, in the meantime, you can catch on to this net, that net, and all kinds of nets, theoretical nets are being discussed and agreed and established eventually. To say the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, or the 100-year plan. To be very spiritual, 108-year plan. And so therefore it's not to say, oh, that's evil, because we could feel, okay, that's evil. You're giving hope where there is none. So without going into extreme, we say, okay, let's play along with that. But fundamentally, this is just for now, for temporary sake. Eventually, I want something original, something that is not part of the agreement, part of agreement. And so therefore, I feel as a unique individual, and so does the rest. So let's think something new. And we try to think new ways, but since we are educated from kindergarten in such a way that we were taught that netting is everything, boundary is everything. And so therefore, all we can think is of that, nothing else. And so therefore, the inspiration, the youthfulness is there, the vibrancy, the courage is there to think new, but habit takes over and think that this is it, without knowing that this is it, is the netting actually. And so therefore, before we know it, sooner or later, we will realize that there was no net at all. Oops. Sorry, pending, loading. And so therefore, then that's it, Not that that's the end of the world, of course, Right now we are talking about a vertical fall, yes. But what we don't know is we are just orbiting around to no end, if you think in a spherical way, And so therefore, we feel the vertigo that there is no point, yet I'm still going, Yet I'm going because others are going, not because I'm alone, going lonely, But others are going too. And therefore, when a cat runs out of nowhere, all the other cats feel they have to run too, for no reason. Dogs don't do that. But cats are unbelievable creatures, This is just my theory about cats and dogs, okay? I have all sorts of theories about cats and dogs. Yeah. This would be another book. If there is ever one, most likely there will be no book. Yeah. So, therefore, the actual way of thinking fresh, thinking new, if there is ever one, is to accept. It sounds harsh, of course, that I have to accept my loss of my teeth, Sure, we can create a net by saying we will put an implant or a crown or something, It's never the same, completely different, The actual truth or teeth is completely different, And same thing with hair. And bionic limbs and so on, So that's the case, And so therefore to accept, the idea of accepting actually refers to relaxation. If you really have to force it. It's not so much as to say accept and be stoic, There is nothing to accept. We're just falling, or we are just orbiting, to no end. And so therefore there is nothing really to accept, It's just, if you break it down, we can call it gravity, we can call it, there is some form, larger form, smaller form, all that, which is another very poetic way and philosophical way of putting it. But at the end of the day, it's just orbiting, that thing or that pattern, to be very precise. And so therefore, at the end of the day, is to relax. Whichever way, whichever term works the best, Some of us, we feel very soldierly, That's how we grew up. And so therefore we feel that there's a hard truth, Father and son, The Skywalker's family legacy. But in this case, it's about sort of accepting the background. Okay, now I'm going too far. I'll come back. So basically, if we relax, and let this current go wherever it feels like going, for the fact that it started, it will have an end. It's always the case. If you feel like something is moving, something rose, something birthed, there is an end to it. And so therefore, we don't have to play with the idea that it's eternal, Nothing rose without an end, or fell without rising. So therefore, no need to fear. And that's the fresh way of thinking, that's the new way of thinking, and actual freshness, And so therefore, the part of Mahamudra is none other than accepting the transient nature, nothing else. There is no other Mahamudra to begin with.